Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I was trying to get my presentation to come up in Adobe, and I know this is the first time that I'm technically doing this. Okay, I think it is showing up now. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I know that I told you all last week that I recorded this video on my camera for the third time, actually. The first time I recorded it, I had no audio. The second time I recorded it, when I was reviewing the footage, my microphone was messing up, so it was all staticky. And then the third time I recorded it, it got deleted. I don't know why the universe does not want me to share these tips with y'all, but I'm gonna fight through it. Okay, so take number 4. I just decided to just go ahead and do a live stream because I'm recording the videos for December tomorrow evening, and I'm already doing 6 videos, and I don't know if I am going to have the energy to do 7. And I want to make sure that I still give you all 8 videos for this month. So I just figured to turn this video into a live stream presentation. I went ahead and whipped some slides up and took the points that was in my outline for the video and just decided to put them in a slideshow instead. So without further ado, here are 5 tips for you to create a mobile-friendly resume. So after watching this video, you will learn how to increase the readability and compatibility of your resume for any mobile device that recruiters use. This includes smartphones, tablets, and laptops of all sizes, how to make sure your resume can come up on tablets and smartphones, and some very simple formatting and design hacks that can provide a better reading experience to recruiters who are using mobile devices. And talking about this topic is really important. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first things first, why should you consider making your resume mobile friendly? Like, why a mobile first resume? Well, first of all, according to a study, 60% of recruiters admitted that they are reading and screening resumes on their phones. So gone are the days where recruiters are only looking at your resume just on their desktop computer in the office. And as someone who is on my phone, it's actually right here in front of me constantly, 9 times out of 10, if someone sends me anything, they are emailing it to me, and I am pulling it up on my phone, or we're using some sort of an app, maybe a collaboration tool or a project management tool, and I'm pulling something up on there. Other than that, I may, receive it in the mail or something like that. So, and also think about that with yourself. Like, when you are receiving something, when you get something, how often do you look at your phone for something? How often is your phone the number one way, and sometimes the only way, that somebody can contact you? And recruiters are doing the same thing. So we all know that these days people are working hybrid jobs, people are working remote only jobs, and we're all very busy. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have your phone on you more than anything else, and recruiters are not immune to this. And they can pull up your resume on their phone at any time. Maybe they're on the train going to the office or coming back from the office, and they just want to take a look at a couple of resumes or a couple of applications just to see, what's the applicant pool looking like, who are the type of people who are applying to the job, that sort of thing. And we also live in a digital first, sometimes a digital only society. So not having a mobile friendly resume can hurt you. And believe it or not, there is a such thing as having a resume that can only be read on a desktop computer. And if your resume cannot be read or translated or pulled up on any other device, you are really limiting yourself in terms of opportunities. Creating a mobile-friendly resume is really easy and really simple. I know it may sound complicated, like you may think you have to do, some extra fine tuning or something like that, but that's not the case. It's very easy, it's very simple. And in this slide deck, I'm going to give you all some tips on how to do that. But at first, I wanted to explain why creating a mobile first resume is really, really important. So this 60% figure was just in 2023. I can speculate, I can guess that in 2024 and beyond, that number is going to go up. I also meant to mention that recruiters do have access to their systems and their emails and everything on their phones, and of course after hours. So while they may be in the office from 9 to 5, and they can definitely screen your resume on their computer during that time frame, maybe they're headed home, maybe they're on the train, or maybe when they get home they want to get ahead of some tasks for the next day, and they just pull up applications on their phone or on their tablet or whatever. So I meant to mention that as well. So the first tip on this list is to increase your font size. So think a bigger font size than what you are typically used to. The font size that you want to aim for is between 10 to 12. Now your name should be no larger than maybe a size 14 or 15, but in terms of the body text, like what your job descriptions will be in, your job titles, your skills, your professional summary, your supporting copy, what I like to call it, should be no smaller than a size 10 at the minimum. And what some people will do, particularly to make all of their information fit on either one page or a page and a half, to fit as much information in there as possible, people will typically have a size 8 or a size 9. I've even seen a size 7 font, and you do not want to do that because a smaller font size means that it's going to be harder to read. So think about when you receive something via email or digitally. So I'll just use my phone as an example. If I pull up an email, and it's really small, I'm going to have to like zoom in all the way on my phone. I'm going to have to use my fingers to zoom in a little bit to be able to see what the text is and, what the message is saying. And that's what you don't want. When it pulls up on the phone screen, regardless of the different model of iPhone or the different model of Android or the Google phone, whatever screen they have, that it comes up perfectly and they don't have to zoom in and they don't have to, manipulate the screen at all to be able to read what your skills are, what your value is. So this is why having a larger font size is especially important when it comes to making sure that your resume is able to be read on a smartphone or on a tablet, because they are much smaller than a regular desktop screen. Now, I'm presenting this presentation or this live stream on a monitor, and it's pretty big. But if you think about the size of a screen that's on an iPad or, a tablet, Microsoft Surface, whatever, what have you, those are smaller screens. So you want to be able to see whatever font is there, whatever information is there clearly. Consider the recruiter's reading experience. So maybe they could be sitting in bed, they could be sitting at a coffee shop, they could be sitting in their living room, they could be on the train, and you don't want them to have the screen like, all the way up to their face trying to read, what your resume says. And a bigger font size means that they will not have to do that. Now, some mistakes to avoid in regards to this. Number one is do not make the font size too big. So 10 to 12 is a sweet spot. 13, 14, like I said, should just be reserved for your name. It should not be what your job bullet points, your job titles, etc. are in, because that is too big. And if you make your font size too big, then that means that your resume is probably going to be longer, or you may have to whittle down the information that you're including to be able to like put everything in there. So you may have to shorten your sentences and stuff like that. And you shouldn't really have to do that. 10 is more than enough. And the font that you use does play a factor. So I talk a lot about Times New Roman being the font that you want to stay away from. Instead of using Times New Roman, consider using Arial or Garamond or Calibri, because they tend to be more smoother fonts. So number one on this list, definitely increase your font size. It's a number one way to make sure that your resume is mobile friendly. Number two is to use a PDF file or the PDF version of your resume. Now, typically when people apply to jobs, they will only use a Microsoft Word version, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes with Microsoft Word files, if the person does not have the latest version of Microsoft Word, or if they are opening it up in their email, sometimes it can come up a little jumbled. The file can come up a little distorted. And I've had this happen to me where clients rather, will send their resume to me and it will be in Microsoft Word, but they will have a older version of Microsoft Word than what I have. And so when I pull it up, it looks a little distorted. If they're using special characters or icons or something, sometimes they won't come up on my end, right? So you want to avoid that at all costs. A PDF file, a PDF document tends to be a static file. It's not able to be edited unless you have the Adobe software. So to avoid that, just make sure that you're using the PDF version as opposed to the Word version. And with the PDF file also, you're not going to have any compatibility issues whatsoever. So whatever the PDF comes up as, it's just that. You can't play with it, you can't edit it at all. And sometimes when you download the Microsoft Word version, you can type in it a little bit. Sometimes people edit it by mistake. I've had that happen before. So just use a PDF file, or just use a PDF file. When you are done with writing your resume or updating it, just convert it into a PDF file. If you're working with a resume writer such as myself or another resume writing professional, they should be sending you a PDF version of your resume upon completion. Ideally, you should be having a Word version, which is the version that you edit and update over time. You should have a plain text version, which is just copy only. It's just the words. And you should also have a PDF file. If you are working with a resume writer who does not provide a PDF version, just ask them for it, and I'm sure that it should be no problem for them to go ahead and get it over to you. So that's number 2 for this one, is to use a PDF file, PDF version of your resume. So when you're applying with your resume, or you're emailing it to someone, right, it should say whatever your name is. So Tamika Thompson resume, Teresa Gates resume .pdf. It should not say .docx. If it says .docx, then that means that you need to go ahead and get it translated. Number 3 on this list is to use section headers. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen for a quick second, and I'm going to show you guys what I mean when I say section headers. So I have my resume up just as an example, and I've used it in past examples before. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Let me see if StreamYard is going to let me. There we go. Okay. So here is my resume, and this is what I mean when I say section headers. So you have, I guess you could say a rectangle, a square, a border, whatever, some sort of a marker that separates all of the information. So here's my experience section. I have a section header for that, and I have a section header for my education. It basically just separates all of the information, and it kind of groups it together so the recruiter knows like what they're reading in a particular section. So if I didn't have this here, all of my stuff would just kind of bleed together and they wouldn't know. I mean, you can guess that, yeah, this is my job title, and they're probably in the experience section. But by having my section header here, it just makes it more clearer. So always use section headers. And I guess let me try to zoom out. So let's say this is what my resume looks like if it's on my smartphone. By having that section header there, it helps to kind of guide the eye through the document much better, and it organizes it better. So you always want to have clear section headers. I like to have my section headers in capital letters because my copy text, or my body text rather, is always in sentence case. And if I had it in sentence case, there's a potential, well, if I didn't have the border here and the lines and stuff, that it may just, kind of blend together. And I don't want that. I just want it to stick out a little bit more. So I always make it in capital letters. So section headers are really important. So again, if you look at this on a smartphone, it just very easily guides your eye through the document. Like, this is my target headline. This is my experience. You can clearly see this is what my skills are. Additional experience that I have, and my education, and so on and so forth. So that is what I mean when I say section headers. And let me go back to my presentation slide so I can pull up the other points. And sorry for the lag time, you guys. I feel like StreamYard is being a little finicky tonight when it comes to the different windows that it lets me share. So I'll do my best to put some markers and some timestamps and markers in this video so that it's easier to watch the replay. Okay, I think we got it back. Okay, perfect. Yes. So when you're writing your section headers, when you're creating your section headers, my best recommendation is to use all capital letters, just like I did, along with a border or an underline or a color to distinguish one section from the other, and then also making the text slightly larger than the copy itself. So I believe my copy text was in size 10, but my section header was in size 11. So it's just a little bit up so that it sticks out more. Some mistakes to avoid with this is to make sure that you have a space between your section headers and the information within them. Do not have everything just stacked directly under one another, because then it's going to look very condensed. Again, make sure that the section headers stand out in some way, shape, or form so that the information on your resume, it doesn't bleed together. Because again, if they're reading it on their phone, everything is going to look exactly the same, and they may not be able to distinguish one section from another. And then lastly, do not have section headers. I see people do that all the time, where it's like they just write everything out and they don't really specify which section is which. And it's not a terrible thing, but again, think of the recruiter's reading experience. I would like to know, when I'm looking at someone's experience, when I'm looking at somebody's skills, when I'm looking at someone's education. While you think that it may be implied, sometimes, especially on smaller screens, it's not exactly as clear as you would think. And number 4, I talk about this all the time in my videos, is no chunky paragraphs. I have to say that with a clap, because I cannot stand when I come across resumes that have chunky paragraphs. So keep all of your bullet points to 1 to 2 lines, 1 to 2 sentences at most. If you find that you're writing your job descriptions and it's looking very chunky, when I say chunky, I mean like 5 to 7 sentences, that is a huge red flag. You do not want to do that. You're going to need to cut some information out or break that information up. No more than 7 to 10 bullet points per job posting. And I talked about this in a previous video. I think it was titled Job Bullet Point Mistakes or something like that. It's on my channel. If you search for it, you'll find it. A lot of great information in that video. And if the lines look too blocky, again, break them up. 3 to 5 bullet points for your professional summary only. I've seen some professional summaries that are 7 to 10 lines long, and that's just way too much. Also, use bullet points, y'all. Like, some people will just type everything out and it'll be 3 to 5 sentences, but it'll be 3 to 5 sentences all together. Please, please, please use bullet points. It really gives a better reading experience, and it allows the information to be broken up so that it's easily digestible and it's more easily read. And then last but not least, put some extra space in between the lines so that the lines aren't super condensed. Let me see if I can pull up my resume again to show you all an example, because I believe I have it on mine. Yes, I do. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see here, like my bullet points, they're not directly under one another. Like I have, here it is. I have like 3, like a teeny tiny space in between so that it doesn't look like that. Like that just looks, now if I took away that little space, it would actually look like this is 4 lines. So if you can, just add a little teensy beensy space, itsy bitsy space between your lines, like after each one, so that they're not stacked on top of each other. Because if it looks too cluttered or too chunky, it could result in a poor mobile, like it could result in a poor reading experience on a mobile device. And then let me flip back to my screen, my presentation rather. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And number 5 is simple layout and simple formatting. So I've talked about this in previous videos as well. Naturally, your eye, or people's eyes in general, read from left to right, top to bottom. There's no need to get super crazy or super creative with your resume to the point where you have a lot of information just sporadically placed all over the page. And typically when I come across this, it's because someone has downloaded a template that they found online. So maybe they went to Etsy or they went to Canva, or maybe even took a template that was in Microsoft Word, right? The templates sometimes will look very pretty, but oftentimes they're not as effective when it comes to properly laying out your information and really making it so that the document and the information within it is easy to read. Stay away from columns if you can. If you do use columns, only use just one, and that should be for your skills section and your skills section only. No fancy fonts, so don't use cursive or Gothic, or I've seen some crazy fonts. And again, if you're reading on a mobile device, like cursive sometimes is not the easiest font to read on a phone. So your best bet is to, again, just stick to a regular schmegular plain Jane font, which is Arial or Calibri or Garamond or something of the sort. If you want to use Times New Roman, it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's better than cursive or, the fonts that have, little squiggly lines at the end of them. Like, don't do any of that. And with fancy fonts, I see them on templates that have been downloaded, but I also will see them on people who may use InDesign or Photoshop or what's the other one? InDesign, Photoshop. There's another one that I can't think of that people will pull like those super fancy, really weird fonts from. Also stay away from fonts that are too light, like they have a very light stroke. Like this font right here, it's a heavy font, it's chunky, it's bolded, but it's still, it you can see it on the page. With some fonts, they'll be so light and so thin to the point where if they're not bolded and you're looking at it on your phone, again, somebody's going to have to either zoom in on it with their phone, or they're going to have to like put their phone up to the screen, and that's something that you don't want. Use a very simple but appealing font, just like the examples that I gave. So again, Arial, Garamond, Calibri, that's it. That's all. You don't need to overcomplicate the layout, the format. Avoid putting a lot of graphics, a lot of pictures in there. Those actually waste space, and it hinders your ability to communicate all of your value and all of your experiences and all of your skills. So stay away from that. If you do use a template that you find online, just make sure that it's simple and make sure that it doesn't have a lot of extra elements in there that waste space and that complicate the document. And avoid having your information randomly placed on the page. So again, just top to bottom, left to right, you guys. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to have your picture here, a column here, a box here, a footer down here. Like you don't need all that. As you guys can see, my resume is super, super simple. It has the little yellow graphic on there, yes, but for the most part, I guess it's considered basic because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a template does. It's just laid out plainly in Microsoft Word, and recruiters can pull it up easily. I've never had any problems with it getting through the applicant tracking system or being pulled up on a tablet or, a phone or anything like that. So feel free to reference my resume as a layout if you need to. And that's it. That's it, you guys. Again, this video was relatively short. Fourth time is a charm with recording it. I really hope that you all found this video helpful. I want you to make sure that you prioritize making sure that your resume is mobile friendly in 2024, because those numbers, that 60% figure that I talked about at the very beginning of the video, I'm pretty sure that number is going to go up. And 60% is already a high number as it is. That's more than half of recruiters who are hiring for jobs who are saying, yep, I'm reading resumes on my phone. I'm looking at resumes on my phone, whether it's on their lunch break, whether they're at home, whether they're traveling, commuting, whatever. And I want to make sure that your resume is able to come up on whatever mobile device that they are using, especially if it's aside from a computer. I think in the past, resumes were considered to only be read on computers because we assume that people are only looking at resumes, or recruiting professionals are only looking at resumes on their computer when they're in the office. But again, the work environment is changing. People are hybrid, people are 100% remote, and they could be doing their job anywhere at any time on any device. And making sure that your resume is able to, be translated on all these different devices is really important. If you have any additional questions in regards to making your resume friendly that I did not answer in this slide deck or within this video, feel free to drop a comment down below. If you need assistance with your resume, if you want me to go ahead and just take this off of your plate for you, I'd be more than happy to do this. Writing resumes that are optimized for mobile devices as well as computer screens is my specialty. I've written over 700 resumes in the past 8 years that I've been doing this, so you would definitely be in good hands. Feel free to email me. My email address is hello@thompsonresumes.com. And of course, you can always visit my website at www.thompsonresumes.com. Thank you so much for tuning into this live stream if you had the chance to catch it. If not, I hope you enjoyed watching the replay and you got a lot of great information from it. If you're watching this video, this replay live stream, and you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can join my growing YouTube community. And I will see you guys next week with another video. It will not be a live stream. It'll be a regular pre-recorded video. And here's to hoping that this never ever happens again. But thank you guys for tuning in. Again, I hope you enjoy watching if you watched the replay. Thank you guys. Bye.